Hey everyone, welcome to Weekend Project. I'm Laura Lynn and this is Clive of the Mama Pop Quilt Shop, and we're going to do some hand stitching on binding today. So that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you the tools that are needed and how to do it. So hopefully between this camera and that camera you can totally see what's going on. Okay, thanks Mr. Clive. Bye-bye. So this is a project that I have been working on that belongs to our niece, or my niece, or my sister Lisa and I put this quilt together, and you'll see it on Long Arm Wednesdays, and I'm sure if you're a fan you know what's going on. So we did it for her wedding, and it's in July, so I'm hand stitching the binding to the back. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about how to machine bind a quilt, and it was just a baby one, so check that out if you like. Hopefully the iCard will be somewhere around here. Munchkin will make sure it happens. And this is, I'm going to show you how to hand stitch. So I have sewn this binding onto the front, and then I'm flipping it to the back using some lovely little clips here. Clippy clips. They're fantastic for this sort of thing. If you don't want to press it or just flip it as you're going, it's nice to have it already kind of preset sort of thing so you know where you're going. And you'll need some, so you need clips, but you don't need the clips. I mean, it's telling you you could do whatever you like. These are threads. You can use threads. I'm using this one right here, but just to show you there is a variety of threads you could use, and in spool sizes. I obviously get the big ones. And I have this little magnetic pin. It's called the Needle Nest, and I literally had this since like the late 90s, and I bought it to go with my first cross stitch project that I was working on, so I can just put my needles in here just like this that I've got going on here with just a magnet, a lovely little one that's got sewing notions on it. I got it gifted from a friend. So I pre-thread a few needles with the thread I'm working on when I do the binding, because I figure, you know, I do 3, that's it, that's good for today, moving on. I don't want to get too bored with this. Sometimes people just want to keep going and going and going until it's done. This is like an extra large queen or a king size quilt, so it's going to take me a while to make sure the binding goes from the back to the from the front to the back, and it looks nice. So like I said, I've actually broken this one, hence why the tape is there, but it is very handy. It's magnetic right here, and this like right here is just like a little book clip, and it's also magnetic. But you can just grab like a fridge magnet too if you like, and just set yourself up a few little threads with needles, and off to the races you go. So also, I need old lady glasses. You may not, but I do. Okay, let's go back to where we are here. And hopefully between, like I said, this camera, because it's close up, trust me, I squished you right close to the table here so you can see that, and this one right here, you can really see what I have going on with the stitching. And I did it so we were just a bit of a distance away from doing a corner. Oh, maybe too much away, but anyways, we'll do some. And it's just folded. It's folded, and I'll give a chance for Munchkin to get in there. So it's just folded over from the front to the back, and it's nicely just clipped with these. And at the corner here, I just did one. I went one straight one way, and then just folded it over the other, just like kind of like we did on the front end, and then just put a little clip right there. And what you want to make sure is that you don't see your stitches that you sewed on the front side to the back. So you kind of want to go with your binding just slightly beyond those stitches that you stitched on your binding, and it becomes invisible, like literally almost, you know, depending on your stitching. I'm not the best, but I do try hard. Okay, so I've obviously done some. Okay, and besides having the clips and the thread and the needles, sometimes seam ripper, and definitely little snips, depending on, you know, what size, or scissors or whatever else you got going on. Okay, so take your needle. Here, hopefully Munchkin can get in on close on this one right here, so you could really see. So I have folded it over. I'll show you here the clip. Okay. So that is the front where it's been sewn onto the front. I just laid it down, and now I'm taking it and I'm flipping over to the back. and I'm holding it steady, trying to cover those stitches. I used a colorful thread, not necessarily green there, but there's a gray, and I'm just making sure that that fold of the binding is covering it. So here's my needle, here's my thread. I'm using matching thread, but you can totally use contrasting if you like, but they'll just be able to see the thread. And you just want to take a little bit of the back, just a little bit, and the batting, but none of the front. You don't want to come all the way through. See how that needle's come out? You don't want that. You don't want that at all. You just want to take a little bit of the backing and a little bit of the batting, and then come up right on the very fold of it coming over, of that binding coming over, okay? And it's almost invisible. And you come right close to where the binding is. You take a little bit of the backing and the batting, and you come up a little closer to where the fold is, a little bit over, and off you go. Just like that. And it takes practice because you don't really want to see the thread. You kind of want it to be invisible the best you can. Okay, so we're just going to go take a little bit of the back, take a little bit of the fold, and pull tight. Pull taut. Don't pull too tight because you may break your thread and you don't want that, okay? So sometimes it's going to take a couple tries to get in there. You may just be getting the backing. You don't want just the backing. You want a little bit of the batting as well as the backing. And then just come up real close to where that fold is. Right there. Just really snug and tight, and then just come in and pull. So it's going to make really a straight stitch that goes up and down, okay, from top to bottom, and then you're just going to go, and then it's going to go top to bottom, and you're going to thread it, and you're going to go top to bottom. So that's how that little stitch works, but depending on whether you're using matching thread and you're not going through to the other side, because you're not seeing any of those stitches at all going through that other side here at all. You're not. So that is key. That is key. That's why a lot of people choose to do hand stitching on the backing and machine stitch on front. Okay. So sorry. There we go. Hopefully the other camera too can get what I am going at here. I don't know if they can. I'll try and move it just a little closer. I'm trying to get at least a couple of good shots with the other camera here. So take a little bit of the backing and the batting. Oh, hold on, get it there. It's going to take some practice. So don't be frustrated. I do them about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch apart, depending on what you're working on. I would like this to last many washes, so I'm kind of doing it relatively close together, just trying to grab a little bit of the backing and the batting, and then coming up in the fold of the binding and making sure I'm not going through the other side. Like I said, sometimes you're going to have to wiggle the needle in, and it comes close to the fold as you can, but you still want that double layer of fabric. Okay, I'm hoping I'm good enough for Munchkin to get that so you guys could really see. Someone had asked how to do binding, hand stitch binding, and they would really like a close-up. So I'm hoping that I'm getting what they're looking for right now with our cameras. Okay, there, and then just there, and there, and with matching thread, you cannot see what you have going on for the rest of, I mean, it's tiny little thread stitches. I mean, but really, in the whole scheme of things, it's all, to me, I like that. I'm sure people are going to have ones that this one disappears, or this one's a better stitch, or so on and so forth. It's all good. I appreciate the suggestion, and you can help other people with it. So I'm very thankful for everybody's knowledge and how they can fill in the gaps. Okay. I love these little clips for that sort of thing, to hold it in place so you know where you're going and you know how to get there. And it kind of gives a memory to the fabric already when you're trying to, hand stitch it down, right? And of course, a thimble. A thimble is very, very handy because you don't want to be poking through your skin, because that definitely happens. Want you back already? Jeepers creepers. The cat came back the very next day. Hey now, the cat came back. Mr. Clive. All right, and that's pretty much the gist of hand stitching. So definitely the key things is either you can pin your binding or you can just maneuver it as you go. I mean, it's completely and totally up to you. I kind of like these clips for it, just kind of give it a little bit of the fabric a bit of a memory before you get there. I haven't pinned the whole thing or clipped the whole thing. I just went past the curve just a little bit. So you know, I just put a few in and then go from there and hopefully accomplish that by the end of the evening sort of thing. Oops, I've already lost my tail. It's going to be that kind of day. It's been that kind of week. I blew a blood vessel in my eye, so everybody thought I'd hurt myself, and I didn't even know what the heck had going on. It was just one of those days. So that's how I'm going to finish this weekend project. I'm going to get it finished this weekend. I swear I'm going to get it finished. And hopefully lots of you join me later today, which would be Friday, February 21st, I think it is, or 20th. 20? No, it'll be 21st. And we're going to be doing some cross-stitching on our live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern. So hopefully you join us for that. So good lighting is also very important. So we got sharp needles, threaded already, pre-helping yourself. Oh, Mr. Clive's after the thread. That's what he's after. No attacking. Pre-threading a few needles to just kind of get you through so you're not having to refocus on trying to thread a needle after you've done one row already or one needle length. And my needle lengths here, I have kind of doubled it over. I'm only using one strand, but I kind of make it so it's as long as down to my collarbone from my hand threaded on the needle. And of course there's the tail. So it comes close to, but not quite. It's I think that's a good enough length. Hopefully you don't get any knots. Sometimes you may need a little bit shorter. Some people have longer arms. I mean, you can do what you like. But I'm just trying to give you some tips of what works for me and having a place to put them. And in an emergency situation, if you have a phone like mine, which has a tiny little magnet, you can always put it just like there. And you know where your needle is or your next needle is when you do your next project. So, but definitely a good light. I have two really big lights here, plus the one overhead, and I got another one over there. And it's nice to have a stationary light where you can focus on your project, even if you just sit at the corner with the lamp from the couch, that sort of thing. But definitely one that gives you the extra light that you need, especially in the evening, to show you what you're working on in your project, that's for sure. And you're not making any mistakes. So hopefully if there's any questions, please just put them in the comments, and I'm happy to answer them on either the next live stream or the next video, and happy to work together. So these clips, I'm not sure exactly where you get them from, but I'm sure you can find them out there. I'm not sure if they're called quilting clips or just little plastic clips, but they are extremely handy. Pop bought them for me a couple of years ago, and I have been very thankful for them for a few projects, not necessarily just binding, but for other projects as well. So, and you can always take the one clip out and put it down the line, whatever. I got some bigs and some smalls. Bigs and smalls. And I like both of them for different things as well, but I use them both for clipping down the binding. So hopefully that encourages you to hand stitch. It is very time consuming, especially when you're working on a big project that, is 80 or 100 inches per side. And, you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to do like 25, inches or 50 inches tonight, and then sooner or later within a week you'll have it done. So just focus a little at a time, even just 2 needles worth or just 1 needle worth of thread, and you'll have that project done in no time at all. Whether you just decide to either hand stitch it or you can just obviously doing the binding that we are doing here today. But that is very much a fun project to do while sitting in front of the tube or watching a stream or watching a Twitch or streamer on Twitch or something like that. There's lots of ways to keep yourself entertained. You can probably put a book on tape. I've never actually put books on tape to listen to unless we were in the car traveling. So who listens to books on tapes? Answer in the comments to see who actually listens to books on tapes. I might start doing that actually, because I find that there's nothing on TV, and sometimes the streamers that I like to watch aren't there, or there's, you know, I don't really get into some of the other quilting videos, but that's just me. I'm happy to hear the feedback, what people do while they're in their quilting room. Do they just pop on a video? Do they put on Netflix? Do they put a book on tape? Do they watch other streamers on another platform? Because there's many different other platforms as well, so to watch streamers. So, and when you go to finish off your thread, this is kind of, it's getting there, but I can show you here. Okay, hopefully much can get in. And you just kind of want to come up straight again with where the binding was. Do a little pull. Do it again in that area, nice and straight. And then the third time is you're actually going to loop. You're going to loop, when you pull through, you're going to loop through that little loop, like there, and pull tight or taunt. Don't pull, don't break it. And then you're just going to come back up through underneath. So you're losing the tail. You're going to lose the tail. See how I'm actually kind of gumming up a little bit? I'm actually going to pull that right out through here. And I'm losing the tail inside the binding. So you're never going to see it. It's never going to be a problem. It has now disappeared. Oops, I poked myself. Sorry about that. Don't bleed on a quilt. It's a good thing it's for family. Peroxide or your own spit gets it out, just in case. And then, of course, you take your next one. That's got a tail on it, which this one does. And you want to kind of come up. You want to actually split that where it's binding together, where you're kind of flipping it over, and just take a little bit of that fabric batting that's on the inside between the binding and lose the knot in there. And then just keep starting back again, making sure you're covering those stitches from the machine stitching, and you're just doing a little bit of backing and batting, and you're pulling taunt. Not too taunt, but just taunt enough that it's going to hold it. Oops. All right. Now we got a knot. All right. Just work your knots through. Sometimes you're going to have to break threads and rethread and just start over because it's too bad of a knot. Just do it. Don't get frustrated. It happens. Tie the knot off, or do it. Try and do a good job. That's where sometimes the seam ripper comes in handy. You got to rip back to so you can get yourself a tail so you can put it in. So, and that is hand stitching a binding on. Isn't that beautiful? And it looks so good. It looks absolutely stunning from this angle there, okay, and even on this side too, okay. It looks beautiful. Let's just tuck this back over here so you can see it. Okay, it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful, and it's clean, it's tidy, it's not messy. You don't have anything sticking out except for some random threads, but you're going to trim up with the snips. It happens. So that is my weekend project, and by golly, by Sunday late evening, it's going to be all done because I've only just barely started. So thank you everybody for watching, liking, and subscribing. We greatly appreciate you here at the Mom and Pop Quilt Shop, and we will see you tomorrow on our live stream where we're going to continue working on our half square triangle project, where I'm going to make a couple of bags, maybe a wall hanging, or a couple of bags and a wall hanging. We're just working, it'll be episode number 2. So we're very excited about that. Lots of pressing and cutting up still yet to do before then, so I can have a nice little collection to at least start sewing with. Okay, so thank you everybody. Big hugs from us, and we will see you soon. Thank you for liking and subscribing. We greatly appreciate it. Bye-bye.